Okay. Welcome, everyone. Let me turn down the lights. Welcome, everyone, to our another competition night. Tonight's our black and white competition. First, let me go through our announcements. Coming up, we're very lucky, again, as I said last time, to have next Friday a live speaker, Susan Anisco. Susan Anisco used to be a member here. She is a prolific travel photographer. She has a permanent exhibition at the Cleveland Hopkins Airport, too. During COVID, though, when travel was kind of off, she got into other types of photography, cosplay, and then wildlife photography, and has done a number of wildlife expeditions and whatnot, and is going to be talking live that night on wildlife photography. And again, knowing Susan's work, and it should really be an excellent night. So that's next Friday. September 15th, then, is another photojournalism night. The deadline is usually 2 days, 48 hours before that. September 22nd is a nature competition again. The deadline is listed on the website, so check our website for the deadline for submission. It's a projection competition. And then back again on September 29th is our critique night, which has been really just well attended. We've had a lot of people submitting to that the last 3 times that we've done it, too. We're doing it every 3 months now. So it's never too early to start. You could submit up to 3 images. They don't have to be resized or anything. They could be old images, new, just anything you want, images you want to comment on. There is no judging allowed. There's absolutely no, judges are stopped at the door. And it's constructive criticism only by a CPS panel, again. So at any time, you could just start sending them in to info@clevelandphoto.org, and we'll put them in line for that night. So that's coming up September 29th. New competition rules. They are up on the website, the proposed rules. This has been a big undertaking by the competitions committee. Things are changing rapidly, and our old rules, again, really allowed pretty much anything. So to try to deal with this, the committee has laid out a new set of proposed rules, which are on our website, on the homepage, and under the competition section. And to comment on those, you could send your comments to info@clevelandphoto.org. All those comments are passed on to the chairman there as well. Now, it is good for all of you that are in competition, tonight and whatnot, rather than wait. These are pretty much going to be what the rules are unless there are other little changes, but start to read them now so you get an idea, because the plan is to implement them during this competition season. Technology, though, is changing. You can't make everyone happy. Towards the end of the year, we reevaluated. Changes could be made as we go along. So these rules are not written in stone for the next 5 years or whatnot. So, but we needed some starting point with AI, so they're there. So check them out on our website on the homepage. Upcoming tomorrow, the air show. We still have some tickets left for Sunday and Monday. Again, the weather is going to be sunny and in the 80s all 3 days, so it should be really, really nice. Back to the Wild is now open and signing up people. That's September 10th. We usually do that once or twice a year, and that's very, very well attended. A chance to get a real close-up of the eagle and owl. And now, with AI, Photoshop Beta, you could just make a circle around the little thing holding him onto the tree there and take it out. And it looks like you got him right in the wild there, too. I didn't say that. That was the other. SIG meeting, September 7th. Route 66, photographing Route 66. Dave, again, had just recently redone this trip down Route 66. And he has a lot of great photographs as well as tips on how to photograph Route 66. where to go, where not to go. So it should be an interesting night. And then, of course, we break into our individual camera groups afterwards. So that's Thursday, September 7th. The Portraiture and Lighting course, we still have just a few spots left. That is starting September 10th with John Soraya. We're limiting it to 15 students, and you could sign up on the web page, the website on the school page. Fundamentals of Good Photography is underway. Lightroom will be starting September 9th, and Introduction to Photoshop Photo Editing will be started September 11th, so there's still time to sign up for those. There are still openings in those schools. Again, you could sign up on the website on the schools page. I have the dates backwards.
Intro starts on Saturday the 9th, Lightroom starts on Monday the 11th.
These are minor details. I mean, you're right. I've just been informed the dates are backwards, too. You would probably find that out if you showed up those days. So, yes, do not trust this slide. Lightroom and Introduction to Photoshop Photo Editing are going to be starting in a few weeks. Check our websites for the correct dates. What is it, Lori?
Next weekend they start.
Next weekend they start.
Intro starts next Saturday.
Okay. Check our website. It is more accurate than I am. There we go. And finally, all of our public meetings and competitions are on our YouTube site. Go to our web page, because I still get questions about this. The public meetings are on, go to our website. In the upper right corner, there's a YouTube icon. When you click on that, it takes you to the YouTube page of CPS. When you're there, click on Live. When you click on Live, that'll take you to all of our meetings in date order, so it's easy. And I say this because the Zoom meetings, they are not on our YouTube channel. Those are proprietary. The speakers don't want their stuff out there. So with our website now, all of the Zoom meetings, if you want to view those, are on our website. Just sign in with your credentials, go to the members section, and in the members portal, all of the Zoom meetings are there that you could view anytime. So, enough of that. So, let's get on now tonight to our black and white competition. And first, I'm going to bring up the judges. And before I do that, these are pictures or images. I think, Dave, the way it works is they submit these. Because I was putting the pictures on and I saw the first one and I don't know if I...
They submit them.
They submit them. Okay, I did not take these. So let me get to the judges. And let me turn this screen back. Yep, that's who's going to be judging your stuff tonight. Okay, about our judges. First we have Bill Fields. Now, Bill grew up among dairy farms, orchards, and truck farms. This rural environment cultivated his love of nature and landscape. At age 8, he got his first camera, a Kodak Brownie box. He was only able to afford to process black and white film, and those early experiences surely imprinted him with a love of monochromatic images and led to his explorations of infrared photography. He worked over 30 years in aerospace, laser technology, and the automotive industries. Early on, he successfully sat for the exam and became a certified engineer, although he never attended engineering school. And throughout this time, Bill continued to study art and became ever more proficient in draftsmanship, printmaking, watercolor painting, and of course, photography. After a trip to the Himalayas in 1988 and 89, people began asking if his photos were for sale. Until then, he had always considered photography as an adjunct to his other artwork. When he sold a couple of pictures to Steven Spielberg for set decorations, he began to consider himself a photographer. And due to his work, Bill has lived in 11 states, settling in Missouri in 1993. He was a self-employed management consultant for a number of years with General Motors, Boeing, and many others among his clients. Throughout the years of breadwinning, he continued to study, practice, and execute works of art. His devotion to art has been a lifelong pursuit and passion. Today, Bill is a full-time art photographer and a published author. His books include Herman, Missouri, one of the prettiest towns in America, and his limited edition, The Four Directions, A Southwestern Journey, which won first place in the 2019 Independent Publishers Award for the best coffee table book. He has 3 other coffee table photo book projects that are currently in development or in the proposal stages, and he recently signed an agreement to produce a book on the Tennessee Whiskey Trail. And Bill was honored as artist in residence at Fort Union National Monument in Watrous, New Mexico in 2019.
Richard,
Yes,
I have a comment here.
yes,
Okay, Bill's a professional photographer. He doesn't believe in manipulation or the use of AI in his photography. So after he commented and judged the images, I talked to him personally to make sure that he understood that the current rules of our club allow for AI and allow for a compilation and other manipulation. Said he understood that, but he chose not to rewrite his comments or change his scores, and I didn't ask him to do that.
okay, that's fine. Our next judge is Herb Asherman. Now, Herb Asherman, born 1947, is Cleveland, Ohio's most prominent portrait photographer. Since opening his portrait studio in 1975, Herb has photographed international leaders such as President Carter, Reagan, Bush, and Biden, more than 200 local artists, 750 Northern Plains Native Americans, and for 20 years serves as the portrait photographer to the Cleveland Orchestra. Herb has produced well over 9,000 black and white film-based portraits in his 47-year career. For the past 23 years, Herb has worked with an 8x10 Deardorff Field View camera and prints in the resurgent art of handmade platinum, originally patented in England in 1873. Currently, Herb is the director of the Cleveland Photographic Workshop, which sponsors the Cleveland Photo Fest. Herb leads a monthly photo group of 50-year-old and older members on the art and aesthetics of photography, publishes on historical photographic subjects, curates exhibitions of alternative process photography, serves as editor of the Northern Ohio Bibliophilic Journal, and advises the Better Art Foundation, and has a library of 2,385 books on photography. He also has a marvelous collection of daguerreotypes of people and dogs. Throughout his career, Herb has lectured to more than 350 organizations internationally. He has exhibited in more than 150 venues throughout the U.S., Europe, India, Australia, and Japan. And Pete Copeland, although his byline is C.H. Pete Copeland, he is known by family and friends as Pete. He was born and raised in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, and his photographic training and education began in the U.S. Navy, where he served 4 years. He worked as a corporate photographer for several years until he joined the photographic staff of the Washington Evening Star. When the Star died a slow death in the late 70s, he was hired by the Cleveland Plain Dealer as a photojournalist. After almost 30 years, he retired from the newspaper in 2006. And his wife and he just celebrated their 53rd wedding anniversary and have 3 children, 3 grandchildren, and each of them are creative in their own ways. So those are our judges for tonight. We are again very, very fortunate to have them, and we thank the judges. And now let's bring up some of our pictures for tonight. And the first will be the black and white category.
Okay, this is Bill Field's comment. There's a fairly wide tonal range, and the composition is interesting. I feel that the photographer could have used a stronger visual story.
Alaska Coast, Dave Saborik, 23 points. Third place.
Pete says, perfect composition, good use of natural light. All of the leading lines go out of the image, but your eye continues to return.
Apple Blossoms Amongst Many Branches, Valdez Krebs, 20 points.
Herbert says, nicely seen and well composed. The texture of the owl certainly mimics the texture of the branches. Realizing that printing is a personal choice, I would prefer a little less contrast. Not to the point of a flat image, but something slightly easier on the eyes.
Barred Owl, Nancy Murniak, 20 points.
Bill Fields' comment, subject's interesting. Compositionally, it has potential. The photo lacks dynamic range and tone. The angular tip of the buildings is a visual distraction.
Big Sable Lighthouse, Dennis Wirt, 19 points.
Pete says, this is one of my favorite images. I cannot stop looking for the starting point. Wish I had seen this first.
Brian's Fault, David Tripp, 19 points.
Herbert says, although visually interesting as a piece of sculpture, perhaps for a catalog of the sculpture's work, the image holds the emotional content, or the image holds no emotional content for the viewer.
Butterfly Hands, John Paganini, 18 points.
Bill Fields' comment, the photo has nice contrast. The old courthouse, I assume, is an interesting subject. I would have liked to see a bit more of the building to the right side of the frame. The crop is uncomfortably visually.
Cadiz Courthouse, Mike Kopkis, 17 points.
What a pleasant picture, but for the horn growing out of the top of the head. The fact that both of her hands are not in the picture drives me crazy. I love the print quality, though.
Carriage Driver, Joe DiStefano, 19 points.
Herbert says, elegant tonal range, a timeless and nostalgic souvenir for the Jags owner. For sure, he would be proud to have this image hanging on the wall.
Classical Gas, John Paganini, 19 points.
Bill Fields' comment, this is an exciting image. The eagle appears to be ready to strike a prey. The bird is in sharp focus and the lost background is a nice complement to the photo. I feel the photo could be improved by having the bird a little less centered in the frame.
Contortions, Bob Koleski, 22 points. Honorable mention.
Pete says print quality is wonderful. Image is well composed and well balanced. I may have pulled back a little and maybe have the horizon less centered.
Driftwood Beach, Jekyll Island, Susan Mahorsic, 23 points. Third place.
Herbert says, high contrast to the point of the surreal. This is something to be said for the softer tonality when dealing with a natural subject.
Faces Only a Mother Could Love, Donna Schneider, 23 points. Third place.
Bill Fields' comment? The geometric composition has visual interest. The Z design is intriguing. Although it is obvious that the photo was taken on a misty day, I would have liked to have seen some element of the picture in focus.
Fog on Lake Erie, Graham Stead, 19 points.
Pete said, pictures in need of a little more foreground. Print quality is good, but I think this is a horizontal image.
Glacier, Rich Foley, 18 points.
Herbert says, cute portrait, a throwback image to early days of 19th century portraiture. This portrait would be fabulous with a warm tonal range.
Grubby Face, Marge Brady, 21 points. 21 points. Honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment? This is a strong still life image. The tools, the rope, the architectural features, and the cobwebs are all in sharp focus. The bokeh in the background looks a bit overworked and distracts from all the other well-performed parts of the photo. Darkening the window would have given the image a nicer punch.
Hay Hooks, Nancy Murniak, 22 points. Honorable mention.
Pete says, print quality is very good. Love the image, but I would hope the bird would have picked up one leg out of the water. The image needed just that little added interest.
Invisible, Bob Kowaleski, 22 points. Honorable mention.
Herb says, I have absolutely no idea how this portrait was accomplished. I'd like to hear the backstory as to its creation. It is at the same time beautiful, elegant, and very surreal.
Jellyfish in black and white, Marge Brady, 22 points. Honorable mention.
Bill's comment? The geometric matrix used in the background was an interesting creative approach. There just isn't enough contrast in the photo. It would benefit from a wider range of values. The flowers in the foreground seem to have been added as an afterthought.
June Louise Walkway, Lakeview Cemetery, Gary Merrick, 17 points.
Pete says, the first thing I see in this picture is that the camera should have been a little to the right to give separation to the people and give more depth. Overall, print quality is very good.
Keep your eye on the ball, Debbie Leesky, 19 points.
Herbert says, totally the image is much too flat. As to a point of interest, other than as a historic landmark beset by garbage containers, I see none.
Lone Street in London, England, Eric Wethington, 16 points.
Bill's comment? The POV is strong and makes for an interesting composition. The photo is overly processed and suffers from that creative decision.
Look of Money, Salvatore Germano, 16 points.
Pete says, the only thing for me is the need of a base for this perfect image to stand on. Just a little more foreground would make this a great picture.
Maui Sunset, Brian O'Riordan, 20 points.
Herbert says, to be viewer comprehensible, it indeed, if indeed that is what the photographer intends, a photographer's relevant information should be clear to the viewer. This image, although well composed and tonally proficient, gives the viewer absolutely no clue as to what he is observing and or why.
Off the rails above Badwater Basin, Death Valley, Joe Smith, 17 points.
Bill's comment, this fine portrait immediately brought to mind the work of Dorothea Lange. The subjects are not staring into the lens, and that is one of the many strong points. Excellent work.
Prairie Kids, Bill Keaton, 21 points. Honorable mention.
Pete says, great image, only needs a little life. Perfect image, just add a few drops of water or even an ant. Does not need much to make it a great picture.
Protea, Brian O'Riordan, 21 points. Honorable mention.
Herbert says, dark is a fine element of a black and white photograph. Too much dark obscures relevant details that may be of interest to the viewer.
Reading Railroad, 2100. Gary Merrick, 21 points. Honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment, nice portrait of a reenactor. I also like the blurred men behind him. I would have liked to have seen a bit more contrast in the man's face. The chin whiskers are a bit washed out, and enhancing the shadows would have added drama. The toning filter feels a little heavy. The same tone with a little less density would have had more impact.
Ripple Sergeant, Dave Korosek, 20 points.
Pete says, very nice composition. I would love to have some kind of life. Just throw a handful of bird seeds. It is called a still life, but does not have any life. I really like the image. The photographer really has a good eye.
Remnants of the Past, David Grimmer, 17 points.
Herbert says, the visual balance of the photograph would be enhanced by cropping up to the bottom of her shoe, basically removing the bottom course of brickwork. This is image that is a good example of the creative use of the high and contrast tonal range, opposing the geometry of the buildings with the soft lines of the dancer.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame dancer, Susan Bestel, 23 points, third place.
Bill Fields' comment, this is a strong macro image. There's plenty of detail, and I'm glad it's a tiny creature. The bullseye effect in the composition makes me wonder if a three-quarter view wouldn't have improved the image.
Scary Cicada, Chris Bosworth, 20 points.
Pete says, really good composition, a true still life. With all the rules of leading lines pulling the eye out of the picture, your eye always returns to the walking shadow.
Stair Shadows, Glenn Petranek, 21 points, honorable mention.
Herbert says, certainly big, bold, and bright. Again, a bit too contrasty for my particular taste, as I prefer a full tonal range. Not every image needs to be overworked or in Photoshop.
Stare Down, Eric Batsky, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment. This image appears as if it is either a Photoshop paste up or AI generated, or a combination of those things. If it were an actual photo of a real event, I'm fairly certain the accident about to happen would have been all over the news. I don't believe this image meets your entry criteria.
Storm, Jackie Sajewski, 20 points.
Pete says the photographer completely got the great emptiness. Good composition, good print quality, but nothing there.
Terminal, Ronald Wilson, 18 points.
Herbert says, compositionally, this image is very awkward and confusing. The diagonal brace suspending the light cuts the entire right side of the image in brickwork. Crop in from the right and tighten the image, if that is indeed the subject matter.
Hold on for a second, there's a little bit of confusion here. I can't find the score. Oh, here it goes. The Jules, Debbie Leesky, 17 points. My apologies.
Bill Fields' comments. Photographers like finding deteriorating structures. I'm no exception. The image could be in better focus. The vignetting doesn't add much to the picture.
The Specter's House, Jerry Pano, 18 points.
Pete says, my eye wants to know what her hands are doing. All of that black open space in the upper right adds nothing to the image. The print quality is very good.
The Spinstress, Bill Keaton, 20 points.
Herbert says, nicely seen and composed, but a touch too bright and contrasty, although I have no idea what the original image actually looks like tonally. Unfortunately, every monitor is adjusted differently, so it is extremely difficult to gauge the true tonal value of a black and white image.
Tiger Lily, Joseph Miko, 20 points.
Bill's comments, what a handsome fellow. The work is fine with nice contrast and a wide range of values. The photo lacks dynamism and storytelling.
Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright, Mike Kopkis, 21 points, honorable mention.
Pete says, my photographer's eye would like to see more space around this old tractor. Maybe a higher view would help. The print quality of all these images is really good.
Tractor Graveyard, Eric Wethington, 19 points.
Herbert says, way overprocessed. Photoshopping does nothing to enhance the visual qualities of this image, let alone evoke any emotional response from the viewer.
Trafficked, Karen Kritzer, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill's comments, This is a lovely image. The composition's strong. The water droplets add to the story. I would have liked to have seen a bit more depth of field. The main body of the blossom falls off a little too quickly.
Tulip After the Storm, Dave Sabork, 23 points, third place.
Pete says, is it me or is this image in soft focus? This is a great image, well composed, but it really needs to be sharp.
Tulip Opening, Ron Werman, 22 points, honorable mention.
Herbert says, one of the more beautiful hidden landscapes of Cleveland, although I have taken portraits on these stages or on these steps for decades. Well seen, elegantly rendered.
Wade Park Stairs, Glenn Petranek, 22 points, honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment. This image has an interesting composition. The lack of sharp focus and the artifacts are distracting.
Winter Shadows, Ronald Wilson, 21 points, honorable mention.
Pete says, real quality image. Just give me some signs of even a dog walking by. Just bring a young boy with a bat and a glove.
Yesterday and Today's Heroes, Paul Giglio, 19 points.
Herbert says, damn near perfect tonal range throughout the image. There is black where there is supposed to be black, gray where it needs to be gray, and with proper white punctuations. Well seen and well executed.
765 on the move, Chris Bosworth, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comments. The photo is great storytelling. Composition's problematic. If the photo had been framed so that there was more background on the right side of the frame, it would have been much stronger. The man in the black t-shirt is distracting. Cutting off the top of the ice cream vendor's head is uncomfortable as well.
A Moment in Time, Salvatore Germano, 20 points.
Pete says, this image only needs a base to stand on and a star filter. Great eye, and do not forget one or two people in the pews.
Abbey of St. Antimo, Susan Bestel, 21 points, honorable mention.
Herbert says, lovely tonal range, one of the best portraits of the evening. Soft, sensitive, very quiet, and perfectly composed.
Banjo Man, Rosemary Flanagan, 23 points, third place.
Bill Fields' comment. The scene is loaded with potential. There is much here that makes for wonderful visual storytelling. I feel the photographer could have narrowed the composition down to a strong set of elements and made a much more exciting photo.
Blue Rocks, Nova Scotia, David Korosek, 20 points.
Pete says, pictures like this need better depth of focus. All of the fur needs to be sharp. A reflector on the lens to add a highlight in the dog's eyes would be nice.
Charlie, Kim Wojciechowski, 22 points, honorable mention.
Herb says, I'm sure that the photographer saw a contrast and conflict between the elegance of the dunes and the imposition of the branches, both in the foreground and the upper right side of the image. I would assume that the photographer was visually struck enough to position the camera and snap this image. The problem is that by doing so, by visualizing in this manner, the image loses both visual continuity and viewer interest. In short, it's way too confusing. The dune by itself, with its undulating lines, would have been a statement enough.
Death Valley Shadows, Dennis Wirt, 22 points. Honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment. Lovely perspective, POV, point of view. The staircase leads the eye through the image nicely. I would have liked to have seen the image in the positive.
Downstairs, Joe DiStefano, 20 points.
Pete says, very nice image. I like to call this bathroom art. I really like the image and the print quality, but needs some form of life like a bee or a butterfly.
Forest Flowers, Valdez Krebs, 24 points, second place.
Herb says, to make this image much more interesting, crop up 50% from the bottom, thereby tightening the image compositionally.
Indigo Lake Station, David Tripp, 18 points.
Bill Fields' comment. This is a fun feeder shot. The blurring of the bird's wings adds a dynamism to the image. The shot's well composed. I would have liked to have seen more contrast in the feeder.
Lunchtime for the Swinging Blue Jay. Daria Zajac, 23 points, third place.
Pete says, I like this picture, very well composed. I wish the train headlight could be toned down, maybe a little wider shot with more of the smoke and steam.
Night at the Roundhouse, Jackie Sajewski, 25 points, first place.
Herb says, nice action capture. To make the image more powerful, crop up from the bottom of the baseline. The onlooker's shadows are an unnecessary distraction to the viewer.
Perfect shot, Joseph Miko, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment. This one is an interesting image in that it leaves the viewer with questions. What happened? The composition's strong. The use of whites and grays is satisfying visually. I would have liked to see more rich blacks to tie the picture together.
Rescue Me, Jerry Pano, 18 points.
Pete says, sorry, but I have nothing good to say, but return to the location, use a tripod, work on your composition, look at the highlights on the floor for your leading lines.
Silent Reflection, Angeli Persons, 22 points, honorable mention.
Herb says, interestingly enough, the sepia warm tone of the image effectively captures her skin tone. Color is in black and white. As far as the portrait, very bad angle. The camera should be at least a foot or the camera should be up at least a foot so as not to allow her body to overwhelm her face.
Singing at the Rock Hall, Paul Giglia, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill Fields' comment, it's obvious that the photographer spent time shooting and processing the photo. It appears as if the power lines were cloned out of the sky. This is evident because of the reflections. It makes me wonder if the image would have been stronger by leaving the lines in. There is a painting group called the Ashcan School, who were famous for industrial images that included the ugly stuff. Sometimes making things pretty defeats the purpose.
Still mourning at the Powerhouse, David Grimmer, 19 points.
Pete says, good portrait. Smoke gives a good life to the image. The subject must be very happy with this portrait.
Thinking Past, Eric Batsky, 22 points, honorable mention.
Herb says, perhaps a little more contrast for punch rather than a predominantly flat gray palette. As far as subject matter interest, it would work as an element of an overall essay. As standalone image, there is no interest or emotional content for the viewer.
Wagon Train Through Death Valley, Joe Smith, 20 points. Richard, can we take a short break?
Yes, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll go on to the pictorial section.
Yes, there was.
Your mic is on.
Those reflections. Okay, we'll get set to get underway for the pictorial images for tonight. And we're going to start off with the first images are the no comment images. And then towards the end, we'll have the ones with comments. So, all set. We'll bring up our first image under pictorial.
A weed, Joe DiStefano, 18 points. Abandon in the Weeks, Paul Giglia, 19 points. Artist Palette, Death Valley National Park, Joe Smith, 18 points. Cleveland Skyline from Jefferson Avenue, David Korosek, 18 points. Colorful Daisy, Joseph Miko, 23 points. Honorable mention. Developing Coneflower, John Harford, 23 points. Honorable mention. East 4th Street, Ron Werman, 22 points. Energy at Pride, Graham Stead, 24 points. Third place. Hale Farm Civil War reenactment, Susan Bestel, 24 points. Third place. Just Another Day at the Office, Karen Kritzer, 23 points. Honorable mention. Lantern Man's Mill, Dennis Wirt, 23 points. Honorable mention. Low Tide, Murphy's Cove, Donna Schneider, 23 points. Honorable mention. Mentor Headlands Lighthouse, Valdez Krebs, 20 points. Monarch, Rich Foley, 23 points. Honorable mention. Musket Man, Rosemary Flanagan, 22 points. Old Sheldon Church Ruins, South Carolina, Susan Mahorsic, 23 points. Honorable mention. Return to Sender, Salvatore Germano, 19 points. Robin in Winter, John Harford, 23 points. Honorable mention. Saddle Up, Jerry Pano, 20 points. Sailing at Edgewater, Rick Mills, 20 points. Sailing at Sunset, Rick Mills, 19 points. St. Louis Botanical Garden, David Tripp, 22 points. Sunrise at Mesa Arch, David Grimmer, 25 points. Second place. Sunset, Headlands Beach, Jackie Sajewski, 20 points. The Rocky River Infrared, Chris Bosworth, 19 points. Waiting for the Nightly Train, Eric Botsky, 23 points. Honorable mention. We're now going to start the images with comments.
Bill Fields' comment. I love the geometric quality of the design on the building juxtaposed with the more staid-looking other structure. I struggle with the angle of the photo. In my humble opinion, tipping the camera does not an artistic statement make most of the time.
Colors of Cleveland, Debbie Leesky, 24 points, third place.
Pete says, nice image, but remember next time to wait for a better moment. Image could be a little sharper. Light was nice.
Come About, Rick Mills, 23 points, honorable mention.
Herbert says, one of the very best of Cleveland's architectural gems, elegantly rendered. Crop up from the bottom halfway up to the stairs.
Cuyahoga County Courthouse Stairs, Glenn Petranek, 25 points, second place.
Bill Fields' comment. Yes, this photo makes me want to be there. The silky feel of the water from the long exposure is put to excellent purpose. The color saturation, particularly the green mosses and other foliage, is excellent and nicely contrasted by the warmer leaves, rocks, and soil. The transition of the sharp detail in the foreground to the mistiness of the upper falls is a delightful use of depth of field.
Dixon Falls Bay of Fundy National Park, Donna Schneider, 25 points, 26 points, first place.
Pete says, I have seen pictures like this before and have enjoyed the image each time. This one is very special. It seems to float through space with a soft breeze.
Fiddler Fern, Dave Sabork, 24 points, third place.
Herbert says, well seen and very well captured, very soft, very delicate, and very emotional. The right amount of contrast.
Frosty Morning, Bob Koleski, 22 points.
Bill Fields' comment. This is a nicely composed portrait with a 4th of July feel. At first glance, I struggled with the grain and noise, but the more I looked at the image, the more comfortable I became with it. Ultimately, I feel it adds to the storytelling.
Independence Day Parade, Graham Stead, 20 points.
Pete says, this image seems to be missing some element and I cannot identify what it is. I enjoy the composition and the quality of the print.
Mansfield Reformatory in infrared, Eric Wethington, 16 points.
Herbert says, probably a great action shot way over photoshopped. Does it really need this much post-processing to be an effective image?
Mid-Ohio Challenger, Rich Foley, 17 points.
Bill Fields' comment. This photo has a nice point of view and the perspective aids the composition. The colors, especially the green foliage, the river, and the lager beans of the bridge are a bit oversaturated for my taste. I feel a bit less contrast would help this image by giving more readable detail in the foreground.
Middle Fork Footbridge, Brian O'Riordan, 22 points.
Pete says, I always enjoy an image like this one, but I have seen this picture so many times before. The picture has all of the needed qualities.
Monarch on Lake Bonaset, John Harford, 22 points.
Herbert says, by considerably cropping in the open space on the right, the image will focus more on the immediate issue with which the men are seemingly dealing.
Power, Nancy Murniak, 21 points.
Bill Fields' comment. Although I am not usually awed by sunsets, this one had the potential to be a stunner. The composition's excellent. The flying bird adds a nice storytelling touch. However, the photo needs greater depth of field. The main subject's out of focus, and that definitely distracts from all the other good stuff going on here.
Retirement, Ronald Wilson, 19 points.
Pete says, what better image is there than the hummingbird? A study in timing and exposure. Focus is perfect. I have seen this picture before, but I do not remember a better quality.
Rivoli's Hummingbird, Marge Brady, 23 points. Honorable mention.
Herbert says, I don't think the intention or purpose of this photograph is visible to the viewer. Does it deal with the vagaries of time or a surrealistic event in the garden? As a consequence, it does not evoke an emotional response in the viewer.
St. Augustine's Sundial, Gary Merrick, 21 points.
Bill Fields' comment. This image is fun. I have no idea what the blue thing is, but I love how it creates the action and the mess to come. The background needs to be quieted down a little. There's a bit too much noise and odd colors that take away from the excellence of the subject.
Which one are we on?
The Odd Couple? No, Super Splash.
Thank you. Super Splash, Mike Kopkis, 20 points.
Pete says, wonderful image. I only wish the cat was on the other side to fill in the dead space on the right. I have a difficult time getting past the green eyes.
The Odd Couple, Bill Keaton, 21 points.
Herbert says, I remember an old camp story told to a nervous young camper by the flickering firelight of the campsite. When the Spanish moss sways to the west, someone will die. A beautiful image, equally evocative.
Tomatley Plantation, South Carolina, Susan Mahorsic, 24 points, third place.
Bill Fields' comment. The photo uses the reflection in an interesting way. I see a lot of potential. The photo isn't as strong as it could have been had the artist chosen a stronger composition.
West Side Market Reflection, Ron Werman, 20 points. And that concludes our competition for the evening.
We thank you all very much, not just for coming, but for also entering as well. So our competition program is strong here. Check out the new proposed rules and keep entering. That's all I could say. So thank you for this evening.